And we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Trustee Lopez. Oh, no, sorry, Trustee Cristal Lopez. Trustee Lopez. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, there's no adjustments to the agenda tonight. And we will be going to item number 8, celebrating our success with the Healdsburg High School Band Program.
John, would you mind coming up to the podium so we can get you on video?
Where's the camera?
That way it's streamed online and everything.
Will this whole scene of me figuring this out be streamed online? Okay, great. Oh, I didn't realize I'm talking to you. Oh, I thought I was talking to them. Everybody, right. All right. So our next date is the Sonoma State Wind Festival, which is playing that on Thursday, March 9th. And that's it's an early performance. We're doing it at 8:30 in the morning. Every year, Sonoma State has they call it the Sonoma State Wind Invitational, and we pay to participate. It's a $500 entry fee, but we get to play with wind bands from all over the state come to perform there, and we get to perform on stage at the Green Center. So that's March 9th, and that's our next performance. That's the whole concert band. And then after that, we'll have our spring concert, which is not yet, we don't have a date yet for that. And then we'll play at graduation. So we do a lot of dates throughout the year. I'm sure some of you were at our holiday concert in December. So, yeah, great, cool. It was a lot of fun. Oh, of course, the Giants game. Yeah, we have a Giants game. We're invited to play the Star Spangled Banner every year. This year it's on April 26th, I believe. Either the 26th or 27th. I think 26th. Yeah, it's a Wednesday evening against the Cardinals. And so going back now as long as I've been a teacher here, which is this is my 8th year, I bring every band student. So from the junior high, from 6th grade all the way through 12, and we make a giant band, usually about 80 students, and we go on the field all together, with our red band hoodies on and play the Star Spangled Banner. It's always an amazing time. So, and we bought 350 tickets. So how it works is that we buy tickets in bulk, and this year we bought them for like $7 a piece, and then we sell them to parents and to students at $20, which is still a good deal, I think, to go to a ball game. So, one issue with that, which I guess I may as well bring up since I have you all here, is that we've had some issues with our transportation department, and we're short bus drivers. So it looks like we're gonna have to spend a lot of money to get charter buses. So if anybody knows a good charter bus company that would be willing to cut us a break, let me know, because we have, like I said, we have nearly 80 students. It's definitely 2 buses for our Giants game. So thanks a lot for listening, and thanks so much for inviting us to play. These kids are amazing. I'm telling you, they do this completely out of love of music. That's it. You know, they were the ones that basically had to convince me to do that. We have two bands outside of our concert band. Prince Street Band, we play pop and rock and stuff like that. And now the jazz band, but this is we rehearse every Wednesday, so yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank
and
you.
Students, thanks so much for playing for us, guys. That was totally beautiful, and I love jazz, so it's great to see you guys playing and to see young jazz musicians just making it so beautiful and awesome. Since Chris is not here, I'm just going to say generally how much we appreciate the band and how proud we all are of the band, and just how much you guys bring it every single time you play, and how much that's your terrific instruction that makes a great environment of learning music, becoming amazing musicians, and also having a great time. And we just appreciate that so much. So
Okay. Well,
thank you.
Thank you for those comments, and I will tell the band that they are greatly appreciated by the board tomorrow when we rehearse. One more thing I want to say. I know I'm taking a lot of time, but my friend Jake Pruitt, former student, he teaches at the elementary school. Tomorrow he's bringing his first grade class to the high school for a field trip and to the band room, and we're going to play for them, and they're going to hang out with us.
Cool.
And ask us some questions, and we're going to have them in 2 different groups. So that's pretty cool.
That's great.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you
thanks.
so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, now we're moving right on to the business part of things. Okay, item number 9 is public comment on non-agenda items. And we have 1 public comment. Do I need to read this blurb? Should I read what's in the box? Okay. The public may address the board on any consent item or items not listed on the agenda. Pursuant to the Brown Act, during this period, the board cannot consider issues or take action on any items not listed on the agenda. Time is limited to 3 minutes per person, and I will let you know when that time comes up. Can I please call up the Warm Springs 4-H?
Hi, we are the Warm Springs 4-H group, and my name is Sydney Sheehy, and this is my 5th year in Warm Springs 4-H. I am also an officer for my club and serve as the recreation leader. Warm Springs, one of our local 4-H clubs, with nearly 100 kids enrolled from kinder to seniors in high school. Our 4-H motto is to make the best better. Every member attends a monthly meeting, and our meetings are run by the members, not the grown-ups. In addition to our monthly meetings, members sign up for the projects that interest them. Most people think 4-H is about raising and showing animals, but that is only part of it. It is so much more. My projects this year are swine, livestock judging, arts and crafts, community service, government and civic engagement, and dog showmanship. I learn more in each of those projects that I do at school. There are many other projects as well. In in my pig group, I learned that swine are a very common representation of the 4-H project, but there's many more. Other projects include fishing, hiking, beekeeping, sewing, rabbits, goats, sheep, steer, ornamental gardening, vine pruning, sewing, photography, horse, and poultry. Through 4-H, I have gained knowledge and skills in my project areas, leadership skills, communication skills, and responsibility skills. Thank you.
Thank you, Sydney.
Hi, my name's Georgia. This is my 3rd year in 4-H, and I'm 14. Pretty much a lot of people think like 4-H is about just like raising animals and bringing them to show, but like how Sydney said that there's like so much more that you learn within those projects. Like for a couple years I did swine, and I learned because you have to take out a loan for an agricultural loan, and I had no idea what that was, but now I'm like totally educated on it, and I have like no problem like going to the bank, and now I have like a debit card for all of my ag business, and I just got to learn so much about like taking care of my finances and learning how to take out a loan and how to pay it back and how to manage my own money without like the help of like an adult holding my hand. And that was like such like a cool thing to learn about, because like now I feel so like independent and confident on like what I'm able to spend my money on and like budgeting. So thank you.
Thank you, Georgia.
And I'm Dana Grandy, and I am the club leader and the government and civics project leader for the Warm Springs 4-H group. One of our members couldn't come tonight, and she texted me what she would like to say. So I'll read on behalf of Tatum Kiff. She is a freshman at Healdsburg High School. She's 14 years old, and she's been part of 4-H for 8 years. And then these are her words. I would like to thank Superintendent Vanden Heuvel for coming to our January monthly project meeting and teaching us more about how our school system works. In return, I'd like to share a little bit about 4-H with you. 4-H is a program that is managed by the University of California. 4-H is not only about raising animals, it's about engaging youth to reach their fullest potential. Our 4-H club offers a lot of enriching projects that don't involve animals, such as sewing, culinary, hiking, fishing, arts and crafts, community service, and this government and civics project. We would love to see 4-H more promoted through our public schools as it is such a wonderfully enriching program. And I'd like to echo that. I think I've had 2 daughters who have graduated from Healdsburg Public Schools, and I would say that so many of the things that we tried to teach them in junior high and we try to teach them in high school are these soft skills that we want our kids to know. We want them to know how to look people in the eye, shake their hand, be able to speak in front of people. And 4-H does all of that, and they do it within the scope of a project. So they're standing behind their steer, or they're standing behind their horse or their pig or their photograph that they took. And they're learning all of these skills about time management, organizational management. They learn what happens when they fail at something. They get creative in a hurry. So 4-H is really a program that is all-encompassing. It can be any project as long as I have a leader for it. And thank you to all of our leaders. It's based on what the kids want to learn, and it's an extraordinary program. So thank you for letting us come, and thank you again to Superintendent Vanden Heuvel for coming to speak to us at our January project meeting.
Thank you very much for coming to speak with us today. Dana and Georgia and Sydney, thank you. Okay, we'll next move to item 10, approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda and a second?
I'll motion.
And I second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, and then we are moving on to public comment on agenda items. Members of the public have the right to address the governing board on any items of interest, providing it relates to the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Your request to address the board will be heard at the time the item is being discussed. In accordance with Board Policy 9323, individual speakers shall be allowed a total of 3 minutes to address the board for a maximum of 20 minutes on each subject matter. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. Okay, our first item for discussion report action items is 11.1, student learning. A, Healdsburg Junior High School Math Acceleration Framework. So we'll be hearing from Principal Odetto and Louis Gansler.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Nicole Odetto. I'm the principal of Healdsburg Junior High.
And I'm Louis Gansler, Interim Director of Curriculum Instruction.
Can you hear me from over here? You can hear me okay? Okay. We're here to talk about an overview of the Healdsburg Junior High current math framework and our goal for increasing access to the accelerated math pathway for our junior high students. Okay, so our current model stands as this. All 8th grade students that are currently enrolled in Integrated Math 1 are also simultaneously enrolled in Math 8. So they're taking 2 math classes. We currently have 25 students out of our 88 8th graders that are enrolled in Integrated Math 1, which is about 28% of our 8th grade cohort this year. And Integrated Math 1 replaces an enrichment class in a student schedule. So 8th grade students have the ability to take 2 enrichment electives. Integrated Math counts for 1 of those. So a little background on our Integrated Math framework is the number of IM1 students prior to this pilot program. So prior to my tenure here at Healdsburg Junior High, these are the numbers as it stands. So if you can see, the 2 years before the current pilot program, our numbers were in between 26 and 28 students in our accelerated class. And after that, when the pilot program started from 2020 to now, we still range from about 22 to 29 students accessing Integrated Math 1 every year.
And this is an overview of the various pathways that are available in the high school and their integration with where they start from junior high. So up at the top, we can see that if they took 8th grade math, a student would enter Integrated Math 1 as a 9th grader. But if they are able to complete and pass IM1 in 8th grade, they will enter with IM2, placing them one step further in the chain that ends with AP Calculus. And so AP Calculus, as you can see, requires a number of steps to reach. And so in order to graduate with AP Calculus, it is important to accelerate at some point. And that is essentially the crux of the issue, when and where this acceleration might occur if calculus is the end goal. A couple points about this that I do want to point out. First of all of the classes that are listed here are A through G. So they're all college prep classes. Stats is a kind of a central math course. It can be skipped entirely, so one can go from Math 2 to Math 3 and then honors pre-calc and then calc, or once Math 2 is completed, stats can be taken at almost any point in the course, and then you can further go along that chain. Next slide, please. So one of our takeaways from looking at the data is that the last 3 years of this pilot did not produce greater equity with regard to enrollment by ethnicity in either 8th or 9th grade. Latino enrollment in IM1 remains 20 to 30% below their proportion of the 8th grade class. The 9th grade Latino enrollment in IM2 remains proportionately low. It's basically 3 to 1, so 23% to 71% white. And the overall enrollment in 8th grade IM1 has not risen. So on the basis of that, we are asking you to sort of re-examine whether or not this pilot has been successful. Next slide, please. This is, there was a data set that was emailed to you, and this is one of those pieces of the data. In many ways, the most important one in terms of what we're looking at, because this is the amount of ninth graders that are in IM2. And as you can see, there is a disparity between, based on ethnicity. And so that it bolsters the claim that this pilot is not achieved what it was intended to do.
May I ask a question? Why is that? I mean, I understand coming from the junior high, but why in IM2 is it proportionally more wacky, in my words?
Because there's an influx, most likely, of students from outside of Healdsburg Unified.
Okay, so a proposed framework shift moving into next school year would be to, in order to raise the percentage of all 8th grade students that have access to an accelerated pathway at HJH, we would no longer require students to take both IM1 and Math 8 at the same time. With that being said, if a student did choose to take both classes at one time, they could. They could sign up for both classes at one time if they wished. The vision would be to spread out the 8th grade students a little bit more so that we would have 2 sections of IM1 if we could, and then have 3 regular Math 8 classes. And again, that's a vision based on a few factors I'm going to talk about on the next slide. This would lower class size potentially, and this would it would incorporate more individualized instruction for smaller class sizes. Right now, our IM1 classes are pretty large, as well as all of our Math 8 classes.
So the rationale for why we're asking you to reconsider this is that we have not increased enrollment in 8th grade IM1, and we believe that the 2-class structure, in other words, requiring both Math 8 and IM1 concurrently, is a hurdle to increased enrollment. The current requirement prevents students from participating in other electives, so there's an opportunity cost that students have to make in order to enroll in these 2 math classes. And so in removing that requirement, we're removing a hurdle to access. The goal is to prepare as many Healdsburg Junior High students as possible to accelerate in math and to increase equitable outcomes. So we designed a student survey, and these are a sampling of the written responses of that survey. We tallied them, and 1/3 of them were essentially neutral. So we asked them, essentially, what is your experience, and whether or not 8th graders should be required to take both courses. And about 10 of them indicated that it was burdensome for them to take both classes, and about 10 of them indicated that they benefited a lot from being enrolled in both courses. And so this is an even split. It's a representative sample of the written comments that we received and an insight into the student voice and what they were thinking. My takeaway from this is that there are some students who benefited from being enrolled in both classes and enjoyed the experience. And as Ms. Odetto said, that option what we're suggesting is it would still be open, it just wouldn't be mandated. And so for those students who do benefit from it, great. They would be able to receive a double dose of math, and those lessons would be reinforced. And for those for whom it is a burden and for whom they found it repetitive and unnecessary, they would be able to take an enrichment elective.
Okay, so the plan going forward would be as so. So 7th grade students, so in the past, I can't speak for the process in which students were chosen for IM1 before I was here, but this would be my plan going forward. So I would plan to test all 7th grade students in all classes at the end of their 7th grade year with an 8th grade readiness test. So this will prove if they are ready, how ready they are for 8th grade math. And then I would use any one or all of these measures to consider students when placing them into classes. So I would use their readiness test scores, their STAR math scores that they took in 7th grade at least twice, their 7th grade math grades, as well as a teacher recommendation component to assess if students are ready and if they're willing. And then at that point, speaking with families, and I'll get to that in a second, how I plan to do that. But speaking with families, they would have a family choice if they thought their student should take 1 class or 2 classes based on some of these thresholds. So the way I plan to communicate this is I plan to have a math framework and elective night, and I'm kind of conjuncting them together just because math was previously an elective if we do change and go in a different direction. So the proposed date for this is March 6th. This would be a night where I would share with families a few different things. On the 24th at school, all students will be taking an interest survey about their upcoming electives. So they will not be choosing electives. We're kind of just going to generate what they're interested in based off our staff created list for next year to see what they're interested in. I'm really passionate about creating electives for students that they want to take. So I feel like it would benefit my students to reassess what their interests are at this time. From the elective choice surveys, I will be able to communicate to families which electives we're planning on offering. And I will explain all those to families on this night, as well as the idea of the math framework. Parents from our rising 6th graders, so current 5th grade parents, 6th grade and 7th grade parents, are who will be attending this event. And after this event happens, I plan to send home the elective choice surveys to families. So the families that are passionate about picking their electives with their student have that ability. And then students can also take it at school if they did not take it at home. But I really think it's important to be a family discussion for what they plan to take for the following year. Another avenue I will be communicating is through Parent Square. And then just a reminder that there will be a choice based on family input.
I'm going to interrupt again, and if you want me to wait till the end, I can do that, but I'm going to interrupt if that's all right. My question is, if you go back to one slide, how would I as a parent or as a student, if I'm going to take an interest survey, know that the possibility of IM1 not being an elective, not being an enrichment class, but in fact it's standalone math class? How would I know that?
I plan to present the math framework and the electives in the same night. So I'll go through with exactly what Lewis just did as far as the high school math framework to make sure our rising 6th grade families are aware when they start and they enter HJH.
And I appreciate that on the 6th, but on the 24th, when you're asking the kids, what are they interested in? So you have a list of electives.
Yes.
And I'm a 7th grader, and I'm looking, and I'm going, well, I think I'd like to take that IM1 math class because I really love math, and that's an elective. Do I mark that, or is that in that elective?
That is not planned to be inside the elective survey.
Okay.
No.
And then this is the final slide. Just food for thought. One way to. So I'm in an interesting position in the sense that I'm calling myself now an embedded insider, embedded outsider. Sorry, so all these things are fresh to me. It seems like I've obviously been briefed on that there was a history, lots of discussions about this issue. Part to me from my embedded outsider status is that there's a compression point in 8th grade. So that slide that I showed you has this sequence of courses. There's people who want to reach the end of it, because it can mean a lot about college acceptance, about access to a STEM career. There's a lot at stake. And what I'm suggesting is that a way to release the pressure from this focus on 8th grade is to have multiple ramps for acceleration. 8th grade should not be the only point at which you can accelerate. And so I have been involved deeply in discussions with people around the county, including a curriculum specialist in math. And he agrees that there should be more acceleration points. It looks like one of the key recommendations that he's giving is to accelerate in at IM3. And essentially you can fold in parts of the Common Core that would cover pre-calculus, and pre-calc itself is essentially a new course, like within the history of math. So it's possible to embed pre-calc within IM3, and then from IM3 they could go to calculus and finish. So that at that point, a lot of students are more mature. They have a larger base of math behind them, and this is a realistic point of acceleration to again say, this option is open for you, and we're going to help you accelerate to a point that would put you on par as a competitive student, for any college.
Something else to consider is that our current framework or elective choices, students that are showing that they need extra support in math are put in more math support classes. These are multi-grade classes, so we have a 6-7 math support, we have a 7-8 math support. So something to consider is possibly integrating students, IM1 students that need support in math as well, rather than just students that are showing they need support in grade level classes. So the idea of if we were to change some electives to be only semester long, we would have more of a flex situation where students can recognize they need help in math and then go ahead and switch or flex into a math support if needed. So being in math support wouldn't necessarily be an all year thing. It would be more of a recognition of when they need help, they can access help. The last possible consideration is the idea of a refresher of foundational skills. Students going from 7th grade to 8th grade, we are possibly toying with the idea of a summer skills boot camp or a boot camp of some sort that can help some of those 7th graders brush up on their foundational skills if they're planning on going on to IM1 or even Math 8 as well. So just a way for them to feel confident going to the next step. And I think this will really support my students that are on the bubble. My goal is to assess all 7th grade students and really target some of those kids that can do it, that aren't necessarily scoring through the roof, but that can be supported to advance. So that's really the end goal.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you both so much. And I think, there's a lot of history here with, public comment at these meetings, and parents have reached out many times. And I think many parents who've had students going into junior high, especially since lockdown ended, have had concerns about this issue of, 8th grade being the compression point for calculus later on. And I really appreciate the way the graphic showed, just kind of what the flow is, because I think for most 8th graders, it's hard to imagine that flow all the way. And I know as an 8th grader myself, I would have been like, I want to take my electives, especially for students who are taking Spanish and students who are taking band and fine arts. I mean, there's just a number of things where your leadership, where you're then kind of saying like, I'm going to lose that important, elective, or, it's just a tough decision. And I feel like it's a really, really high bar to create for students to ask them to take 2 maths in 8th grade for this outcome that maybe they don't quite see in their headlights yet. Mm-hmm. And so I really, really appreciate how well thought out this is. And I appreciate, Ms. Odetto, just how much experience you have with this issue. I feel like you bring a lot of, you just bring a lot of like thoughtful knowledge about what's at stake here and sort of like what's the best practices and how we can, I really see this as a problem that needs to be fixed. And this, I'm just so happy to see that all of this good thinking. For myself, my main concern as a mom of two seventh graders is I really feel like there was substantial learning loss for many students during distance learning, and that learning loss in some ways, in my opinion, is more obvious now even than it was last year when everybody went back to school. And in math, I think the issues are really pressing only because the students need to receive instruction in that information. It's like there's no way to jump through it or, make a leap or work around it or whatever, as there are in some other subjects, I think, where there just maybe is a little more flexibility in the way the material is presented. It's like you either know it or you don't with the math, and you have to be taught it. You're not going to figure it out on your own necessarily. So I know I'm generalizing, and I'm totally not an expert like you guys are, but that's just what I've observed in my own home and amongst the parents that I've talked to. And so I'm just really want to see the most proactive possible way of really, really beefing up students' skills as they head into taking IM1 so that they go in with confidence that they can learn all of the material and that we handle it proactive and front end, and that there's more than one option in terms of timing, because I think the summer is really tricky. And I know if I said to my children, hey, do you guys want to take 2 math classes next year, or do you want to go to summer boot camp? They would say yes to summer boot camp, but it's just if we can go at that time. So that's the, I just want to make sure that we have options there, because I really do think that this is a matter of them needing to have the material in front of them to make up for some time where learning was tough.
Thank you.
I also agree with Rose, and I want to add that I fully support this initiative. I want to see us being more proactive in 6th and 7th grade so that students feel confident entering a more challenging math class, right? And I think that we've seen this pilot program year after year, and the number of students enrolling is not increasing. So I'm looking forward to the work that you're doing and how you plan to communicate with families and the students. I love that students have the choice, students and parents, right, together. Hopefully they're making this decision together, have the choice of entering either class. And yeah, I want to see more students enrolling in higher math classes, but I want to see more women enrolling in STEM courses. So I'm excited to in the future, hopefully we can improve this.
Thank you.
Let me jump in. Well, you all know I kind of come from the equity point of view. I try to maintain that. I don't always get there. And as I look at the numbers, basically 50% of our white kids, white 8th graders, are taking IM1, and 20% of our Hispanic kids. And we can go into how that happened, but I'm not going to, because it really doesn't matter at this point. It is what it is. I don't want it to be that way anymore, and I'm looking at the principal, and I think we share the same values, which basically tells me that whatever it takes for our 7th grade math and whatever it takes for our 6th grade math, and I'm going to look over here, and maybe our 5th grade math as well, to ramp up to ensure that all of our kids have the skills that they need to get into IM1 in 8th grade. There may be, one class of Math 8, but I'd feel comfortable with that. That could be an elective. No, I'm kidding. But I think that our staff has the talent and the skills to do that. And I'm looking at the leader of the school, whatever button you have, and again, with your expertise, I would encourage you to do what needs to happen. And again, I've said this before, if there is professional development needed for any of our staff members in order to help modify, change, increase their skills, you have my full support. And I look at the board and nobody's saying no. I see other nods. I encourage you to do that, because if we don't get all of our kids on the same boat, going in the same direction, where that's the expectation, that all of our kids there, and to Mr. Gansler's point, kids coming in, they're ready to go wherever they're coming from. We won't get into that, but if they can get it, the newbies coming in, then our kids here certainly should be able to. So I encourage you, and again, you have my full support, and I look forward to those percentages changing.
Thank
And
you.
maybe it'll be 3 periods, 3 periods next year, you never know. And the other
Yeah,
thing.
we'll see. I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping for.
And my only
yeah.
other custom, we did talk about this, is we get into the tracking thing, and it has to do with schedules, but I'm gonna let you do that because that's a lot of fun.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right.
Okay,
I think
thank
we're
you.
good. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, next we have 11.1B, alternate pathways to diploma for students with disabilities. Thanks, Diane.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Okay, so what we're going to be talking about tonight is a very interesting part of AB 181, a trailer bill that was authorized in June of 2022. And it will be coming to you shortly for a board update as well, because we need to align our board policies with this new law. So lots of questions still remain out there from everybody as to how we're going to meet the requirements of this law, but I thought I'd just foreshadow a little bit about it tonight. And you'll have to excuse me, I'm struggling with my voice tonight. So go on to the next slide. I have, it's just right on that verge of a cough. So what happened? So I think there was a group of legislators who had an interest in trying to level the playing field for students with more significant cognitive disabilities. And by that, I mean those students who likely qualify with intellectual disability. It wouldn't be anybody with just an IEP. It wouldn't be, it's a very small subset of students who would qualify for this alternate pathway. So what it means for the district is that we need to create a means and a method for them to achieve the state minimum requirements of 130 credits, waive the rest of the district's graduation requirements, and likely modify, highly modify, the curriculum so they are aligned with state standards. One of the questions that a lot of us had is, well, that doesn't, typically when a student graduates from high school, they're not eligible for services 18 to 22, but for students with more significant disabilities, they are eligible for transition level adult services. So this new law does not end their services, so they get this alternate diploma, plus they still are eligible to go on to an 18 to 22-year-old program, which was a worry for us. So the goal, going a little bit out of order, but the goal, according to the legislators or the groups that push this forward, is they felt as if, students with pretty significant disabilities didn't have the same opportunities as students who graduated with a diploma. And so they're hoping that it will increase their opportunity both for education and employment. And at the same time, it also helps school districts with their graduation rate, because our students who graduate on a certificate of completion, as you know, they are not considered high school graduates. So we get a little ding when that happens. So I think it's got some benefits for the district, but still lots of questions, which we're going to go to next slide. So in order for you to be eligible, you need to take the California Alternate Assessment, and in 11th grade, you have to take that. And so that already way narrows the playing field for students who are eligible. And again, it's likely only students with pretty significant cognitive disabilities. I've already talked about the coursework requirements. I did a quick calculation. Currently, I would say in the district, grades 6 through 12 or 6 through 11, we only have about 9 students who might qualify for this. And so we're not talking about big numbers. It's going to be a big lift for not a lot of kids. So I just pointing that out. There'll be lots to do to meet this requirement. So what's happening now in the state and amongst the SELPA directors is already there's lots of advocacy groups coming forward saying this isn't equitable for all students with disabilities. How come this small subset gets this alternate pathway while my student with just a less severe disability has to complete these rigorous graduation requirements, and they don't feel like it's fair. So there's likely going to be some challenges to the law. And then also, not to throw CDE under the bus, but like a lot of things that happen, we got handed this literally. It passed in June. I got this in October, I think. And without any guidance, without any templates for communication, without any support from CDE, our SELPA has been doing a really good job. And they've, created a cohort of SELPA directors all across the state trying to figure it out. The other thing that, again, is part of special education is they mandate it, but they don't provide any additional funds for it. And this will be likely somewhat of a costly endeavor, both in terms of time and support. And so I'm just pointing that out. We'll figure it out. We're meeting as a little group every once in a while to try to, but I don't have a lot of guidance, so it's not going very far. Next slide. So what do we have to do now? So we have to identify and notify students who may qualify, and more specifically, 9th and 10th graders. And so we're working on doing that. I've already talked to one family about it. You'll have in the September 2022 update, you'll have a board policy, which you will need to approve. And I continue to wait for additional guidance, and then, of course, training, planning. I'm sure it'll affect, master scheduling, things like that. So that's what I know.
Do you have any guess at how many students, again, a range that might qualify for this?
9.
9.
Yeah. 9 and a quick count right now. I didn't look at elementary because that changes. So, but I looked at junior high, tried to do some projections. It's never a large group.
So maybe sort of like 2 to 3 per graduating year.
Yeah, we have sort of a larger sort of cluster in 9th grade right now. And that is beneficial because, what's more challenging is when you have them spread out like we do across multiple grades. So we have sort of a larger group. It's not large by any stretch of the imagination, but it's larger in 9th grade right now. So we'll be working hard to, and not all families have to take this pathway. They really don't. And so it's an IEP team decision, but it's something that we're going to need to discuss with them.
Great. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Diane. Do we have a HEF report tonight? Do we have a HADA report tonight?
Thank you. Happy belated Valentine's. The grading period ends for secondary this week. As I've said before, I'm proud of the Healdsburg teachers. They're constantly adapting to the needs of their students, and they have been subbing for teachers in other classes for a long time now. The amount of sub hours our teachers are doing is a little bit of a concern. And at the next board meeting, I'll bring you some data. Negotiations have started, and our next date is February 21st, and we've already booked a date for March, and the negotiations went well, and the HADA team was very pleased. The teachers, again, would like to focus on just a few things, no new things, and to let us work out the programs we're working on and decide if they're helping our students. Just a reminder that HADA meets with the district once a month to discuss current concerns and ask questions and learn about the board packet. And those minutes will be emailed to you. Our next meeting is coming up soon. We're a small district and teachers are very interested in communication and collaboration with all the stakeholders. It's critical for making decisions in a timely manner. Thank you for all of your help and your support. Thank you for supporting our request for needed materials. Thank you for reaching out to ask questions. And thank you for your leadership. If you have any questions, you can contact me. I live mainly at Healdsburg Junior High, room 9. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Abby, do you have a student trustee report?
Hi. Sorry it's a small one, but being a senior takes up 3/4 of my life. And then school takes up like 3/4 of my life too. So I'm sorry I only have what's going on at my high school, but I intend for the next upcoming months to get some more information. But in January, leadership decided that we wanted to do something or an activity every single week up until graduation. So we spent a good portion of January figuring out and creating a calendar for an activity to do once a week. So in January we did a hot chocolate social on Friday and a horchata social on another Friday. And then we also had like a rock, paper, scissors contest and some other activities. We're trying to do it on Friday, however, because seniors do get out at noon, we're reconsidering it to do it on Monday to hype students up for the week and so that the seniors can be there. And then we also had our senior dinner dance and then course selection night, which was really exciting because not only were there classes that had booths set up, but there was also a lot of clubs. So I know culinary sold hot chocolate, and FFA, we had our own booth, so that was really fun. And then in this month, I know we're only third week in, but last week we sold Valentine's candygrams. And then on yesterday during 5th period, leadership and the floor club for FFA handed them out. And that was really fun. I think we're going to continue it next year just because so many kids loved receiving them. And so many kids looked really jealous when they didn't get one. And so I think a lot more kids are going to do it again next year. And then this week it's not National FFA Week. That was back in November, I believe. But we always do an FFA Week in February. So every day at lunch, we have some sort of activity. This year we themed it around game night. So yesterday we did the Newlyweds game. So you could bring a friend and you see how well you know them. And then today was The Price is Right. We did about agriculture commodities. And then tonight there's also our monthly meeting, which is dodgeball. And then tomorrow we're doing Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? But we're going to do a Kahoot. And then Friday is Minute to Win It. We'll see how that one goes. And then we also have like a dress up week this week as well. So if you dress up, then you can enter a raffle. And then we're giving away like merch at the end of the week, FA merch. So yesterday was, why can't I remember this? It was literally yesterday. Oh, yesterday was Twins Day because it was Newlyweds Day. So you dressed as, like you and your friend could dress as someone together, something like that. And then today was Grandparent Get Down Day. So we dressed as grandparents. Tomorrow is Tacky Tourist Day. And then Friday is Crazy Sock Day. And then next week is another Spirit Week, but for the school-wide, because on Saturday we have a winter formal, because the sophomore and freshman class have no money, and so they need to do a fundraiser. However, they might be in debt for the winter formal, so they're just now trying to make back that money. But we decided to do a spirit week next week and then a rally on Friday. So we discussed a photo booth today. And the price of that got canceled out real fast. Yes, and then we have a rally just because we always do one in the spring to announce the spring sports teams, because we do one in February for Reba anyways and one in fall for Welcome Back. So it's going to be fun. We have a softball versus baseball, like are the varsity teams doing a dodgeball challenge, teachers versus students soccer game. I can't remember the other activity we wanted to do. And then we'll just have the teams introduce themselves. And then that's all for right now.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
It's time for Board of Trustee reports. Does anyone have anything? I don't think, is everyone okay if we don't take a break? We just continue on? Okay. Well, then let's move straight on to 11.2A, the 2023-24 Healdsburg Unified School District Calendar. That binder is massive.
It is massive. Before you have the first draft of the 23-24 calendar, which we always wait for Santa Rosa City to put out theirs, and we try to mimic the vacations and the days off. And it pretty much follows this year. The only major thing I see is the winter break starts much later. But this is a first read, and I would be surprised if there isn't any changes before the next meeting. So it'll probably come back as an action item.
Does anyone have any questions or comments about the calendar? Thank you very much, Debbie.
You're welcome.
Moving on to 11.2B, the Comprehensive School Safety Plan.
I am happy to say that the final safety plan is complete. I would like to give...
biggest available binder?
Yes. I would like to give kudos to Daniela Corona in the business department. She has been wonderful and an extreme help with this. She's done a lot of it. But pretty much it's the same thing that you saw when I brought the first reading. We've just updated some of the drill schedules, added your sheet here that shows you we've updated all the board policies. Just about everything in the book is an update, except for the only two new ads are the AVERT training and the PowerPoint presentation from the HPD training that he did in the fall. It has been reviewed and approved by both the fire department and the police department. Yeah, we make appointments with them and take it over there, and they have to sign off on it. We get audited on it. We are following through with some of the things we spoke about in the fall. One being drop-down shades in some of the windows that don't have them. They're being installed during spring break. A good majority of them are located at Fitch Mountain campus. They have a lot of smaller windows. The junior high is getting them as well. The high school we're not really doing any changes to because we're waiting until after the modernization project this summer. And we're also installing the locks on top where the door hinge is. There's new locks being put up there at Fitch Mountain campus. And I'm trying to enforce the ID badges and getting staff to be wearing them. And because even though we're small, everybody in the district doesn't know everybody. So that's what we're working on now. So it's continuous, ongoing, but this is what we have for now. Is there any questions?
So I move that we approve the Healdsburg Unified School District Comprehensive School Safety Plan for 2022-23.
And I second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
May I ask you to just stay there for one moment? We found a potential error, if I may, Madam President. That was an oversight, I'm sure, on 11.2A, and I'll pass the baton to our student representative.
Well, I just have a question about winter.
Just pointed out.
About the winter break, because it says it starts December 25th to January 5th. So, because I know currently, at least we got out, I'm pretty sure the 16th this year. Are we pushing it all the way back to December 25th?
Yeah, it's going to be a week later.
Okay.
And is it true that it goes through January 5th, 2023?
But they come back, but the 8th, they take off because that's a teacher work day. So they come back the 9th.
Correct. And it cycles around. This happens usually when Christmas is on the Monday after the weekend, and then as we move forward, it'll be the week prior.
Right. This past year's vacation was like especially long because of the way the days fell. So it was almost 3 weeks that everybody was out of school by the time you were done with it. And I think now it's like Christmas would have been on a Sunday, right? And so there had to be a full week in advance of that.
But technically, because the 22nd is a non-student day, winter break would technically start the 22nd.
For the kids.
For the kids.
For the students, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the winter break does not end January 5th, 2023, but rather January 5th, 2024. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. We good?
Thank you very much, Debbie. Oh, and do we need to we did action. Okay. 11.2C is the 2023 California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly election. And I believe that we are backing our Sonoma Valley candidate. Do we have to do a roll call vote on this, or is it?
No, you just need to vote. There's only one person on the ballot.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve 11.2C?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and we are moving on to 11.3 A, the certified seniority list.
All right. So I brought these to you last month for the first reading, the certificated seniority lists, and I had our staff members review them, and there were a few revisions, not too many, which I was very pleased about. And I made those final revisions, and so tonight this would be an action item. So I just need approval.
A motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of approving 11.3A, the certificated seniority list?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll take minutes while I'm doing this. All right.
Okay, and then we have 11.3B, the classified seniority list.
All right, and same with classified. I was very pleased. There was just a few minor revisions for classified. And so tonight, for approval, I'm asking the board for approval.
Thanks, Karen. Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. It's not easy.
All right, it's time for the Board of Trustee reports, comments, requests for information.
I would like to request just general information about the student support services that we offer after school, like tutoring, if I can just have that information available both at the junior high level and at the high school level. That would be great.
So you want to know what type of support is happening after school?
Yeah, I know. I from last academic year, I know they were offering some math support. I just don't know if anything has changed where everyone is in person now. So I would like to receive an update.
Okay, thank you.
And Karen, it can be over an email. It could just be an email.
Okay, I'll let Chris know. Thank you.
Anybody else? And I don't have anything. So we will adjourn this meeting and we will reconvene closed session in a few minutes.